was gonna happen here? Did you think I would dive right in, drown in all my fear? But I'm rising to the surface. I feel I have purpose to be love's volunteer, yeah. Now you got the best of me. I'm feeling so strong, awake to my spirit, singing a brand new song for you. You got the best of me. I'm feeling alive, and if you think you know me, you may be surprised at what you see. 'Cause I learned to be the real me, yeah. The real me. What did you think was gonna happen now? Did you think I would own the stage and take my final bow? But I'm making a commitment. As God is my witness, I won't let you down. Now you got the best of me. I'm feeling so strong, awake to my spirit, singing a brand new song for you. You got the best of me. I'm feeling alive, and if you think you know me, you may be surprised at what you see. 'Cause I learned to be the real me. It's the real me. It's the real me. The real me. Yeah, yeah. You got the best of me. I'm feeling so strong, awake to my spirit, singing a brand new song for you, yeah. You got the best of me. I'm feeling alive, and if you think you know me, you may be surprised at what you see. 'Cause I learned to be, I'm finally the real me, yeah. The real me. Well, I'm finally the real me. Oh, I'm living on one condition. Oh, that love is my true conviction. Ooh, yeah, you got the best of me now. Well, I'm finally the real me.
I think spiritual communities, which we are, hopefully a community, we're striving to be a community. Communities have traditions. And so I realized this first service that a tradition is nothing more than something you did once and it worked. So let's do that again. And you do it until it doesn't work anymore. But I think that also, to keep it real and live, you have to live that tradition. So if a tradition ever stops being real and important, then drop the tradition. Well, one tradition that we've had for many, many years, and I'm still doing it because it's still real for me, is the tradition of honoring those people that we love that are no longer with us on this plane of existence. Doesn't mean that they're not with us, but they're just not here. We can't, go to a movie with them and hold their hand. And that came out of, I think, something that I missed when I came to Seattle. Because my family, my family, in my home, they would always make sure that on Memorial Day, the grave was clean and there was fresh flowers on the grave. How many of you that your family did that? A few of you. That's what we did. And they're doing it in Oklahoma, they're doing it in Eugene. I know that my sister is making sure that my grandparents have flowers on their grave. I know that my other sister is making sure that there's flowers on my father's grave. They live there, I know that it's handled. It's just what happens. Some relatives, Tim's brother and sister-in-law were visiting us all last week, but they made sure that somebody was there today to put flowers on the grave of their mother and their father. It's just what happened. And so I guess that was instilled in me. That's from a little girl, that's what you do. You honor those people who have gone before you. And so when I moved away and I'm now in Seattle, I guess there was probably a seed within me that said, how do I continue to do that? And since Memorial Day falls within a 3-day weekend and Sunday's smack dab in the middle of it, guess what I use Sundays for? As an opportunity to stop and to remember those people who are not with me physically, and yet I still want to remember them. That's part of the reason we're going to do what we're going to do. The other reason we're going to do what we're going to do is because what triggered this all, you know how sometimes things lay in wait? Have you ever had something that you know it's brewing, and then something triggers it, and you have to act? Well, I went to a memorial service, and I was listening to things I did not want to listen to, but it would have been impolite to leave. So I remember leaving there and saying to myself, this is how I would have said it. And very soon it became a Sunday talk. And now it's a tradition. So once a year, I remind myself and anybody else who wants to listen that life is eternal, love is immortal, and death is only a horizon. It's a limit of our physical sight. And when I remind myself of that, I am more comfortable in my skin and I'm more comfortable in my world. So I'm going to tell you what I believe in. And you can accept it or not to the degree that you choose to accept it or not. If it brings you comfort, great. If not, that's perfectly okay too. Because one of the things I love about having this particular teaching is that you get to try on things and take away the things that work for you and don't take away the things that don't work for you. Because I trust the development of your soul. And I trust your connection with God. And I trust that a cell phone will always go off. And that's probably God, so just answer it. Hello? If it sounds like Morgan Freeman, woohoo, that'd be fun. So let's get into life is eternal. You know, ceremonies and art and traditions for thousands and thousands and thousands of years crossed across the world, the globe, and through so many different cultures, they focus on this thing called eternal life. They focus on creating an atmosphere where people can believe that they're going to continue on even if they drop their body. And I believe that comes out of some sort of revelation that people have. They had a revelation of the eternality of life, and then they taught that eternality of life to their children or whoever was around because they believed in it. And it has to be a revelation. Life has to present itself to people so that people can understand that life goes on. And it's very important to have that understanding. It's something that we get to tackle. We get to tackle life now, not when it seems in short supply. Part of the revelations of life being eternal come through things that we now call near-death experiences. That's how people can have them now. Although in the past, mystery schools started in Egypt and then traveling into Greece. Those mystery school traditions led people through a process, and we don't even know how it happened because it was you could not break the oath that you gave to never share what happened in a mystery school. So all we can do is kind of guess because people didn't break that oath. We know peripherally, boy, it's easier to write than to say. We know peripherally what the mystery schools taught, but we don't know the exact process. But the end result was, according to Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato, the end result is that no one ever feared death again. Somehow they were so in touch with life that they knew life was what they were, and they never feared death ever again. We don't have those schools anymore, so we kind of rely on the hearsay of people who have had near-death experiences. How many of you had a near-death experience? A few of you. I've had a few near-life experiences. And what that means for me is life opened up, and I wasn't going through a death process, but life just opened up, and I realized that what I thought I called my life was nowhere near what life was. So I got very near to life. It wasn't a process of letting the body go down and shutting down my body. It was a process of something else. And now I wonder really what reality is. Because this thing that I call reality, oh, baby, there's a bigger reality. It was a near-life experience. Well, I think that what we gather from those things is that there is something that goes on even after the body shuts down. And the thing I love about near-death experiences, people that study that, and there's books on it, and if you want more information, I'll tell you some books to study. But boy, they are amazing. They're so universal and yet so culturally appropriate. Universal, yet culturally appropriate. So universal. Oftentimes there is a feeling of traveling, of either going through a tunnel or a tube or somehow being whisked off someplace. That's fairly universal. Light that is beyond light. Light doesn't even describe what they're experiencing. Light is universal. Light, a feeling of love that doesn't even describe the love. They say, well, it's like love, but more like no love I've ever held before. It's just, whoa. And a feeling of peace and calmness and rightness. Now, some people have got questions, but those are pretty universal, those things. Traveling, light, love, peace, okayness, everything's all right. Those are universal. What's culturally appropriate is that if anybody sees anybody, they see somebody they won't be afraid of. They see the person they expect. Christians see Jesus. Jewish boys and girls and men and women don't see Jesus. They've never seen Jesus. Why? They would be so shocked if they saw Jesus. They don't see Jesus. If they see anyone, they see like a Moses or an Abraham. They see someone that is culturally correct for them. Some people that don't believe in a religion see an ancestor, someone that is a relative. They see that. Wouldn't it be surprising for a Christian to be met by Krishna? That'd be so scary. Why, some blue guy. I took a turn. The love of the universe so wants to comfort us through this thing called transition that it shows up in a way that our memory, what we're taking with us as we move on, it shows up as something that we can comprehend and be safe with, whatever that might be. So culturally appropriate. This is important because it's good to know that if we finally release the body, we are going to be nurtured and held in the process of some sort of new beginning. What we can know from this is that there's not so much a thing of an ending as a graduation, a moving up ceremony, if you will. People don't die, they get promoted. Promoted into a larger life, into a new experience. But here's the important thing. While we are living, each and every one of us can court life. so that life speaks to us of its presence. And we feel that presence through the transitions that we call whatever, even the laying down of our body. So that we feel life. When we feel like something's ending, we feel life hold us and take us forward. I'm not sure what will happen for you or how you will have this near-life experience so that life becomes near to you. But it might be when you're totally upset. Wouldn't that be a new way to look at upset? Upset is an opportunity for you to become aware of life living you. 12 years ago, I had the opportunity to have a near-life experience. That's when I had my near-life experience. Well, one of them. One was just totally out of the blue, like, oh, wow, that was wild. The other one was when I was diagnosed with something that allowed me to really think that I might be letting go of this body. And so I courted life. I just courted it until it became so real to me, it didn't matter whether I kept the body or not, because what I was life. And the body was just a trapping, a vehicle. And when I was no longer afraid of death and absolutely filled with life, the thing that was within me disappeared. We had someone share first service. I knew, but most people didn't know, that she had been diagnosed with it was either stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. It was 4, stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer. Around Christmas of last year. Now, she went through all the stuff. She went through the chemo and the radiation. You'd never know because she didn't lose her hair because she was courting life. I'm not saying you'll never lose your hair, but she was courting life. And that cancer disappeared, but then she found that it had metastasized in other places of her body. But she courted life until she knew that life was, she said, I courted life and life courted me. I said yes to life and life said yes back to me. The last CAT scan shows nothing. And there has been no more radiation or chemo. Even if she hadn't had this disappear, she would be totally different because she courted life. And life happened to say, well, we got a few more moves. Life, would you like to dance? And life says, oh, mon chéri, yes. Have I showed you the tango? I don't mean to make light of it, but I don't want to make this so heavy either that we don't let it sink in. We don't know what happens when we go for life, not a cure. When I was doing my little dance with life 12 years ago, I wasn't going for a cure. What I wanted was life. And when we court life, who knows? Who knows? And we might as well court life now because life is eternal. When are we going to dance with it? When are we going to say yes to it? When are we going to let it embrace us? So I'd like you to just take a moment. Take a deep breath. And have a near-life experience. I'd like you to go into yourself. Go into yourself, that cave of your heart. Seeking nothing but life. There's a possibility for you to touch the animating principle of your very being. The animating principle of your body, your mind, your emotions. That which is the very spark of who you are. Now you can call it God, but if everything's living and everything's God, then everything is life. touch that now.
Life breaks slowly above the horizon. The white frosted meadows with trees and hedgerows of sculptured ice. Speak loudly of your presence. Once more upon this journey as another day begins. Without effort or intrusion, through the peace and tranquility of your silent voice, the moment becomes eternal, and the journey begins again. Love, we meet again. The moment, kind and generous. The beauty, peaceful and serene. The spirit alive in all that is, and not what could be, and all of this born of love, in a moment that is timeless and always enough.
Life is eternal. Love is immortal. The love intelligence of the universe, that which animates everything, is sometimes just called by its short name, its nickname, love. In so many religions, the highest name for God, this love intelligence, this universal principle, is called love. And if we love, we can continue to love. If we love, we can continue to love. And if we were loved, we can continue to be loved. And we can miss somebody like crazy, and it can hurt like heck, and we can still love. We can miss them and hurt and still feel love. Because if we love them and they're not in our presence, it's not uncommon to feel pain and to feel grief. We miss them. We grieve. It hurts sometimes when you've loved someone and they just move across the country. How many of you have hurt when someone, a good friend, they leave, they move? It hurts. It's grief. So it seems especially grievous when someone is not on this plane of existence, not vibrating at the frequency we are, and we don't think we will ever see them again. And we grieve. Bo Lazoff, of one of those wonderful people who were one of my spiritual teachers, he's no longer here in physical form, but one of the things he said is, grief is nothing more than love with a bad reputation. We grieve because we loved. Now we can either go, oh, I'm grieving, or wow, I loved. Man, I loved. Because how you answer that is what will affect your heart. Will the grief close it down, or will the love open it up? He went on to say that hopefully grief will break your heart so that it breaks so wide open that you can love even more. There's a Buddhist teaching that says that pain is inevitable. Grief hurts. It's painful. It's inevitable. Let's just say it together. It is inevitable. Pain is inevitable, no matter how spiritual you are. There's a good chance you will break your heart and you will grieve. It's inevitable. Suffering is optional. Suffering is when the grief gets, or the pain gets in a loop, and it just keeps circling around on itself. It's a Buddhist teaching. What do the pain, you just work it. You've not done this because you've come to the Center for Spiritual Living, but I bet you know people that work it. Now here's some ways to work it. They were so good. Like good people don't die. Oh, this is the birds and the bees talk. We all die. Good. Good people, bad people, there will be people that will no longer be in this physical realm. It's going to happen. They were too young. Well, maybe they were promoted early. Why do we have this idea that this earth life is the best show in the universe? There's a lot of shows in the universe. They just moved up to Cirque du Soleil in a big way. We don't know. See, it's what we tell ourselves. I'll never know anybody like that. I'll never love again like that. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. All of those things that keep us in a loop, that make us feel either very sad and helpless and victimized or angry. Why did they do this? How'd they do this? How many of you have ever lost someone and you go through the anger cycle? It's like a rinse cycle. It's got to end eventually. But we don't. You know how to end it? This is how to end it. Take all of that stuff and transcend it. Tune into the love. Oh, I hurt so much. I must have loved so much. And then take that love and ask yourself what you're going to do with it. You transcend the loops, the suffering. If you think about some of the causes in the world right now that came out of someone broken open by grief and loss, and they used the love of that grief and loss to start something new. And we can do it also. Love is immortal. The way they felt about you doesn't change. The way you feel about them does not have to change. We can get very, very attached to form. And when we miss somebody, oftentimes we're missing them out of the attachment of, they were here, you got to hold their hand, and they're no longer here. Well, they're here if you want them to be here. If you want them to be. I'm sorry to tell you, because y'all got very, very, boy, I'll tell you, second service is different than first service. You've got very quiet. This is not the way I would want a memorial service to happen. But ask yourself inside, sometimes when you feel like you're losing, really what you're losing is the thing that you are attached to, not the person or the experience. We lose our attachments, who we're attached to. So death is only a horizon, and any kind of death is only a horizon. The physical death is a horizon. We can't see where they went. Although I think it was in that book, The Oracle, Everyday Oracles, where she met someone who could see spirits leave, and they always went out through the crown chakra. That was kind of cool. So, just because we can't see what's happening doesn't mean that it's not happening. And the same thing, if we start to see death as only a horizon, we get to see death as a new beginning. They're having a new beginning. If we see death as a new beginning, we can see all those things that we grieve as a new beginning. We can see the loss of a relationship as a new beginning, a beginning called, oh, I'm by myself now. Let's say that really excitedly. Oh, I'm by myself now. Because you know what? You're the one that you're going to be with for eternity, so get used to yourself. How many of you know that you hang out with others just to not know yourself? Some of you. We lose a job. Wow, what an opportunity to find something better. Let's say that together. What an opportunity to find something better. Every loss is either an ending and, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing that could happen, or a door just opened. And we can learn that by noticing that, you know what, someone didn't want to be here, and the portal is that they laid down their body so they could go into some greater expression. had a revelation, and I'm pretty sure it was on Memorial Day. I don't know how many years ago it was, but I'm pretty sure it was on Memorial Day. Pretty sure I was driving in for this particular talk, and I had a revelation. Now, a revelation for me is, I call it a download. And a download is when something just goes, there's no logical process, there's no thinking it out. I wasn't inspired by something. It was just, and for me, when it happens, because I know what it's like, I trust it. Now, I'm not going to say it's universally true, but I will say it's really true for me. And it fits. How many of you have had downloads? It's so right. It's your rightness showing up. Well, I was driving from Snohomish to Seattle, and I'm on I-5. It's Sunday morning. That's why I knew it was a Sunday morning. There was no cars, hardly any cars on the freeway. And there's a place right south of Everett where you've got 5 lanes. And I'm in one lane on the fast lane, of course. And someone else is on another lane, and it was about 4 lanes over, so they're going to have to get off the freeway pretty soon. And they're right about there where Mickey Ciceres is. So see me, and so a little bit ahead, and over about 4 lanes. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at that person in that car. I don't know why, but I'm just looking at them. And pretty soon, they look back at me. Now, it's not a cross. They have to go like this to look at me. How many of you have had that happen? How many of you look at them, they look at you? It's normal. How many of you ever go, and they're looking at you? Right? It occurred to me that this is the way this thing called life is. Life is eternal, and death is only a horizon. I'm in this lane doing my thing, and my dad, because I'd probably just lost my dad, was over in another lane. He's in another dimension. But if I think of him, he will think of me. And maybe I looked over there because that guy wanted to remind me that maybe I think of my dad because my dad's thinking of me. Now, I can't go to that lane. I don't want to go to that lane. That guy's going to have to take an exit really soon. And he's going to go someplace. And it was a guy, whoever's in that car and that gentleman, he's got something else going on, and I'm going this way. Just like my dad's got something going on, and he's going that way. But if I think of him, he thinks of me. Today I thought of my father and my grandparents, and I know they've thought, oh, Kathianne. I don't know what they're doing. It's none of my business. And I don't think that I can call them here and demand of them their presence, but if I think of them, they turn to me. So when you think of someone today, they will be with you, perhaps not here in this dimension, but they're going to know that you care and that you thought of them. Now, I guess the guy could have swerved over to the right and, somehow got along beside me and mouthed something, but it wasn't necessary. All I knew is that there was a connection, and that particular connection allowed me to download that people connect with us when we think of them. So if you didn't say goodbye, you can say goodbye anytime. And they'll know what you want to say. Don't be attached that somehow they respond. But they'll know what you're doing. Because life is eternal and love is immortal. And if they ever loved you, they still love you. Right now we're going to have the memorial service that I've always enjoyed, which is, for those of you that have flowers, you get to bring them up in a few moments. But first, I'd like you to have the flower represent your love and connection to someone you miss. So take the flower and have it be a representation of someone that you love and miss. And as you come forward, I invite you to feel, if you choose, to open up to feel their love. Now, when I say open up to feel their love, I can't say that they're going to be there loving you. I don't know. But I do know that if you don't open up to it, it won't happen. So you open up to feel their love. And everybody's different. You can't make them be somebody that they weren't when they were living. Ernest Holmes tells the story of a medium coming to him and saying, I've been talking to your mother. And Ernest Holmes said, my mother didn't like talking to people when she was alive. Why do you think that she wants to talk to you now? My father was not demonstrative. I doubt that if I actually experienced my father's presence, that I would feel him being warm and gushy around me. It would have been more like that guy looking back and going, yo. But my grandmother, on the other hand, was warm and gushy. And when I think of her, it seems like a flood of love comes over me. Now, maybe I make that up. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It makes me feel good. Because I'm open to it. I'm open to being connected the way that they choose to connect, because life is eternal and love is immortal. So who do you want this to be? And are you open to receiving their love? Just be open to it. The other thing is, this is a great time to ask yourself and be open to what they want you to know. Now, nobody in my family is much of a talker, so I doubt that I would ever get any verbal advice. But some of you have relatives that were talkers. Don't be surprised if they don't start talking if you invite them to. So does everybody know who the flower represents? Raise your hand. Are you open to feeling their love? And are you open to any wisdom they want to impart to you? If that's true, then let's just hear some music. Alexa's going to share a poem with you. And then I invite you to bring your flower up, being open to love and open to their wisdom.
When I miss you, when I miss you, I can talk to that part of me that is you. If I am quiet and I begin to listen for the you inside of me, your voice will gently urge me into quiet conversation. We will speak of that reality that we are never apart.
My heart is filled with love for you. 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 My heart with love for you.
And so I bless each flower because I know it stands for a memory. It stands for love. So even though we see beautiful flowers up here, what we're really seeing is love. Love, connection, remembrance. So I bless the flowers and I bless the people who brought them up, and I bless each memory, and I bless each beloved that knows we think of them. And some are waving, some are blowing kisses, and some are just sitting right beside you, whispering in your ear, telling you the things that you really should know, because they're talkers. But life is eternal. Love is immortal. Death is but a horizon, a limit of our sight. And so I invite each and every one of you to close, to pray with me by when you feel called. Sing along with Laura. This is a great song. It'll help heal the heart and make it bigger so that love can do even greater things in you, so that God can do even greater things in you.